When you do a 1031 exchange, let's say that you have a husband and wife, Mark and Sandra. Mark and Sandra own the old relinquished property. When they go to acquire their replacement property, the same taxpayers that own the old property should acquire the new replacement property. So in our example, Mark and Sandra should purchase the replacement property so that when they report their taxes on Form 8824, they can show that they disposed of a relinquished property and acquired a new replacement property. But what if Mark wants to set up a LLC to buy the replacement property in? Will that LLC be deemed to be the same taxpayer as Mark and Sandra individually? The answer to that question can depend on what state Mark and Sandra live in. If Mark and Sandra are in a community property state, such as Wisconsin or California, the ownership of that LLC by Mark and Sandra will still be viewed as a disregarded entity, a pass-through where the IRS really just sees Mark and Sandra as the taxpayers behind that LLC. And in that case, Mark and Sandra could buy their replacement property by and through that disregarded LLC. The problem is that most states are not community property states. They're common law states. And in those states, a husband and wife are not considered to be a single member or owners of a disregarded entity. A husband and wife in an LLC could create and would create a separate and distinct taxpayer. And so in non-community property states, the options for the taxpayers are either to acquire the replacement property in their own individual names, Mark and Sandra, or alternatively create two new single-member LLCs. Each are disregarded, one owned by Mark, one owned by Sandra, and have those two LLCs acquire the replacement property as tenants in common. There's still a continuation of investment by the same taxpayers. They simply are bifurcating their ownership into two separate and distinct single-member disregarded LLCs.